everyone, my name is Margo Kamaya and I'm a book collector. Welcome to youtube.com/Margo Kamaya. So for this episode of our book series, it's a suggestion coming from one of our viewers. So he suggested that we talk about Nick Joaquin's Reportage on politics. So in the 1960s, Nick Joaquin, under his pen name Quijano de Manila, came out with a series of columns and writings. For example, in the Free Press magazine, right? All about politics. He also has a series on reportage on lovers, reportage on crime, and then finally, reportage on the Marcoses. In particular, the target decade of all of these writings was during the 1960s, no? The golden age of the three G's in politics: gold, goons, and guns. Okay? So, it was all about patriarchal politics in the Philippines. Right? And then in the 2010s, Anvil Publishing came out with a reprint of all of the 4 books. Okay. So, let's take a look at the chapter, no? What are the different topics or chapters in the book? So, let me just show you an example. So, first off was Amang versus the Balak Beauty. So, Amang here is Eugelio Amang Rodriguez versus Carlos P. Garcia at the time. As we all know, Carlos P. Garcia, a Bocolano, became president in 1961. So it talks about the race for the presidency between Amang Rodriguez and Carlos P. Garcia. And then other topics that Nick Joaquin also wrote was all about Macapagal versus Marcos biographies. So again, no, in the mid-60s and especially in the 1965 elections and the 1969 elections, it was really between Macapagal and Marcos. Okay. And then it also talks about, there's also a topic here, chapter 6, Mrs. Mac cleans the palace. So, Mrs. Macapagal, right, Eva Macapagal, I think she took a page out of Jackie Kennedy when the Kennedys were in the White House. Before the Macapagals transferred to Malacanang, after Diosdado's win, no, she had the Malacanang Palace renovated. So Nick Joaquin talks about the renovation that Mrs. Macapagal did. And then chapter 5, which is Takeover in Manila, this is all about Antonio Villegas. So Antonio Villegas became the mayor of Manila after the death of Arsenio Lacson. Mayor Villegas, actually the reason why I know Mayor Villegas a lot, it's because of the Botong Francisco murals. No? So Mayor Villegas was the one who commissioned Botong Francisco to create the kasaysayan or his Filipino, what was it? History of the Filipino struggle. I think that's the name of the mural, which is now displayed in the National Museum of Fine Arts. So that was all the idea of Mayor Villegas. Another thing that I like about, so another chapter that I like about this book is chapter 13, The War Cry is Okay. It's all about Sergio Osmeña Jr., also known as Sir Hing Osmeña. So it talks about his life, no, as a son of Philippine President Sergio Osmeña Sr. And it talks a little about his life story and a little about his political story. And then a subcategory of that chapter is about his eldest daughter, Minnie Osmeña. So Minnie Osmeña is very famous, no? Because of an incident that happened in Aspen, Colorado. So I'll let you research on that. What was the big thing, no? That involved Mini Osmeña in Aspen, Colorado. Okay, I'll give you a clue. It's something to do with the wife of an Indonesian president. Okay, right. Another thing, of course, because this was the 60s, right? There is a chapter devoted to Ninoy Aquino as well. Let me see. What is... I forgot I think it's chapter 12, no? The Survivor. So it's all about Ninoy Aquino. And then, of course, there is also a chapter dedicated to Raul Manglapus. So people my generation, we know of Raul Manglapus as a newspaperman, as a writer, and also a senator. No, right after EDSA Revolution, he was actually one of the first senators who was elected after 1986. Right, and then of course there is the last chapter is dedicated to Arturo Tolentino Sr. So Arturo Tolentino was a major figure in the Philippine politics as well. He was a senator, and then during the 1986 snap elections, he ran as vice president with on the same ticket with Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Okay, so he was the running mate of Ferdinand Marcos. If I remember it correctly, Marcos was wearing red. So same thing, no? It's like a repeat. And then Senator Arturo Tolentino was green. So it's red and green. So the 2022 election just kind of used really that nostalgic idea, no, of the 1986 election. Red, green, and then red, green in 2022. So there's a lot of personalities here, right? So I just read the description on which Anvil, no, added to the book. So Anvil said, whether you dig politics or not, you'll find this political album entertaining because it's chock full of narrative, profiles, real-life dramas, observations of our society, studies of our culture, and what a nostalgic trip for many of today's readers as well. So in this book, the bad old days live again. Here's a wealth of detail for the biographer, a wealth of material for the historian, and for the common reader, a wealth of good old dirty fun. So the 1960s was really a swinging decade, no? In terms of politics, the Marcoses, lovers, and then crime. So this book by Quijano de Manila, also known as Nick Joaquin, is available in National Bookstore, or you can also go to Anvil's website, or I think they have a shop in Lazada and Shopee, and you can purchase the entire 4-book volume, or you can buy it individually. So when I bought this maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I paid 575 pesos. So I always keep the book tag, no, as a reminder of how much I purchased this particular book. Right? So again, Reportage on Politics, Quijano de Manila, also known as Nick Joaquin, and it's a highly recommended book, especially for those who love history. Okay? So once again, thank you for our viewer on suggesting this topic. Okay? And thank you very much for watching this episode. I'll see you on my next one. Stay safe, take care, bye!